How's it going, everybody? This is your Astrology Horoscope for Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. I'm astrologer Alex Skyles, and welcome to the Moon Base. Hope you guys are having a great start to the week. Happy Tuesday. Coming into today, this moon is now in Leo, okay? And we just had the moon in Cancer. So since 2008, the moon in Cancer has had to oppose Pluto every time the moon comes into its ruling sign, which is Cancer, which has not been easy. Cancer people, have not had it easy. So if you have Cancer energy in your chart, you know what I'm saying. So now that Pluto's in Aquarius, every time the moon or any personal planet comes into Leo, it's got to deal with Pluto. So coming into today, I definitely think being able to face Pluto in a healthy way is important. I mean, it's important to come at it from a healthy perspective, but this opposition from Pluto to the moon carrying in, it really started at the very end of last night coming into early this morning. I mean, this is midnight, here and on the West Coast, right? So this is Pluto at 2 degrees, the moon and Leo at 2 degrees. So, I mean, a lot of deep, unconscious, rooted emotions can be triggered, and this is connected to this Chiron, which Mercury just conjuncted on yesterday, exactly. And that was the second time that Mercury has to conjunct with Chiron. And then when Mercury goes direct, then it's going to cross Chiron again. So the messages that are coming through of, that are connected to our healing and our wounded self and our wounded egos and just things that did not work out, especially with our relationship stuff in the South Node. I think with this moon opposing Pluto, this is a trigger point, and we definitely had a trigger point over the weekend with the moon in Cancer squaring the nodes. So there's a few triggers that are kind of playing out here. And I definitely think it's connected to, where we want to express ourselves and how we're feeling limited, to express ourselves and feeling a little disconnected, emotionally disconnected. This moon in Leo is not going to feel the same, The moon in Leo really just wants to express itself deeply, and from the heart and passionately and freely. But every time it's got to oppose this Pluto and Aquarius, there's a sense of insecurity of are people even going to vibe with, how I'm expressing myself? Like, if I don't express myself, how other people are, maybe I won't fit in, and that's what Leo is going to be going through over the next 19 years, having to face Pluto, is that insecurity, and at the end of the day, it's just like, especially with this Chiron that we're dealing with and the eclipse that happened there and Mercury and the sun that crossed Chiron, and now Venus is going to cross Chiron after the North Node conjunction here within a matter of days. Even when our egos feel a little suppressed or we feel like we can't express ourselves the way we want to because maybe other people may not agree with you, so you have, there's a struggle of maybe I shouldn't say anything at all, which is, kind of the dark side of Pluto. The dark side of this Pluto in Aquarius is, the dark frequency of, putting, hitting the hush button on anything that isn't agreed upon within the collective or what, the idea of the collective, agreement is, which, with this Pluto, it's from some other place. It's not even our true selves or our true heart, with this Aries and Leo energy, So I think with this moon opposing Pluto, it's like, you got to say, fuck it. He's like, even if not everybody agrees with you or, the whole group itself isn't necessarily on your side, I think with this Mercury Chiron conjunction and this moon opposing Pluto, it's just like you can't just hold yourself back just because you want to fit in or you want people to like you, you want to people please, which is the very much this South Node, and this nodal axis, this karmic shit that we've been going through is, letting go of like what other people think about you, or just wanting to fit in or like pleasing everybody just to keep everybody happy. It's like, this moon in Leo is saying, he's like, look, if you want to fully express yourself and be respected and be appreciated, you got to do it in an honest, genuine way. And when you do, the right things and the right people, show up for you. But there's always going to be haters. There's always going to be people who don't agree with what you're saying or don't like what you're saying or are upset because you're not a part of the group, aka Pluto and Aquarius. It's just like, the whole cancel culture shit, like, really was at its peak, or the virtue signaling was at its peak during Saturn in Aquarius, and after that Jupiter Saturn in Aquarius. So now Pluto is here in these same spots where that Saturn Jupiter conjunction happened, December 21st, 2020, going into 2021. At the height of the fucking George Floyd shit and the vaccine and the mask shit, like, it's the same idea. It's like, if you don't agree with us, you don't do what we're doing, then, fuck you. And this moon in Leo, every time it's got to oppose Pluto like this, it's got to deal with that energy. But the reminder is that, the sun rules Leo. The sun always wins. Pluto does not win. That's the thing. Even when we are going to, be dealing with this kind of collective suppression of, self-expression and the ego, and the ego is not a bad term. It's the sense of self, knowing yourself. When you know yourself in Aries, Leo can express that knowing of itself fully, in a very creative way, And sometimes, that can make, people who are involved in different groups and who all validate each other, which is very Aquarian. That can really make people insecure, But, if there are any insecurities starting to pop up with this moon opposing Pluto, that's where you got to look. It's like, oh, if I'm feeling insecure, I feel like, somebody's doing something that's making me feel, challenged or insecure. You need to look at that. That's going to be coming up a lot every time Leo planets oppose Pluto like this. It's like, damn, or vice versa. It's like, why do you always gotta, feel a certain way about me whenever I'm just being myself? That's a common thing, and it's this form of control that we've kind of seen come about, since 2021, right? And now with Pluto here, it's like, it's all about power. It's like Pluto is gaining its power from suppressing, the heart, right? That's where Pluto can get power, and this Pluto can, help us gain, power, if we're willing to integrate with new groups that align with our ideas and our spirituality. But at the same time, it's like, you can't just completely sever, the individual self-expression, which is Leo, which is what the sun does, and now with this Chiron stuff that we've been dealing with the eclipse and the Chiron North Node conjunction, and now Mercury here, Venus is going to cross there. It's like, it's bringing up a lot of those wounds, where it's like, man, I'm too scared to be myself. I'm, but a lot of it is, being too scared to be yourself or express yourself is, because you're afraid of judgment, which is that South Node in Libra, Libra tends to judge, or, it tends to get, judgy out of its insecurity of its inability to fully be itself, right? Aries is itself no matter what. Leo expresses itself no matter what. Libra wants to fit in and be a part of what everybody else is doing and be a part of those, who can fully express themselves, and it could be supportive, and Aquarius, wants everybody to be a part of this particular group, but the dark side of Aquarius and Pluto here is like, if you're not a part of this group and you don't think like us, then we're going to have to end you, right? You're canceled, you're dead, you get suicided. Many things, this is the Pluto and Aquarius energy. So today is a big reminder that it's like, dealing with your own, internal subconscious bullshit, that's connected to your wounded ego and your insecurities towards fully expressing your emotions and how you feel and your creative energy, which this moon in Leo wants to do. It's like, this is a trigger point of like, fuck, like, you can't just be stuck in that mode of giving a shit what the group thinks or what other people think of you or what what your close relationships, think of you. It's like a child who comes into the world and has no preconceptions about the future or, any sort of judgments whatsoever. It's totally vulnerable. It just expresses itself in the only ways it knows how, which is its natural instincts, which is very Aries, which is very Leo. Libra and Aquarius, the South Node in Libra and there's Pluto in Aquarius, it's very mental. It thinks about things. It has to think about things and put things together before it can act, right? Aries just acts upon its instincts. Leo just expresses and creates upon its instincts, So the air signs, it's a little bit more mental. It's not as creative and instinctual and intuitive as these fire signs, right? And keep in mind, the 3 Mercury retrogrades that we're going to have here in 2024 are all in fire signs. So it's all these Mercury retrogrades coming through this year is, a reminder that, you always got to say how you feel. You got to trust your instincts, And when your mental energy and your intuition and your instincts are connected, that's when you can see the whole picture, And we definitely are starting to get the whole picture here as Mercury is working back towards its, direct motion at 15 degrees where the North Node is. And then Venus is going to conjunct at this point. So when it comes to our self-worth and our expression and just fully being our true selves, it's like that is going through such a massive transformation. And this moon opposing Pluto is another trigger of this massive transformation that we're going through. And Pluto's only going to make it to 2 degrees. So this is as far as Pluto's going to get. It's going to go a few more minutes here before it goes retrograde in the first week of May. But this is as far as we're going to see Pluto in Aquarius, and then it's going to retrograde and then go back 29 degrees. So definitely today, it's just like a day, like a reminder of you can't just get stuck, where everybody else is at. You can't like lower your frequency and your vibration based upon other people's insecurities, or you can't let your own insecurities pull you out of being yourself or expressing yourself from your true identity and your true self-expression, And this moon is going to be making good aspects to, Venus in Aries and, the North Node and the Sun, So these next few days with the moon in Leo is all about creation, self-expression, your identity, identifying what you want to create, identifying how you create, and identifying what's true to your heart. That's what the next few days are about, And definitely, the conversations that we are having about, let me rephrase that, the vulnerability that we need to have with this Mercury retrograde in Aries crossing Chiron for the second time, and it will happen again. I mean, vulnerability just from your true self and your true nature and your true instincts without even having to think. If you have to think about what you're going to say, that's a form of manipulation, right? If you could just fully dump it and say how you feel without thinking, that's where people can really feel what you're saying from a true and honest place, and be able to trust that, wow, I really can get behind an idea that, this person has. Like if you have a creative idea, there's so much creative energy coming through here, especially with Jupiter, Uranus getting closer together, and we want to be able to harness that as much as possible. And speaking of Jupiter, Uranus, I mean, damn, I'm definitely starting to see some amazing things show up in life, for sure. But at the same time, it's like looking around, it's like, Jupiter, Uranus is shaking shit up. I mean, like I said, you can imagine some, earthquake kind of energy, with Uranus and Taurus and Jupiter conjunct, we just had that fucking earthquake in Australia yesterday. This isn't the end of that. So we're going to see, some really radical stuff start to pop up in our reality, in a positive way and in a crazy way, and it's fucking exciting, because the whole momentum after this eclipse with the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, the timeline is shifting completely. Like, the world of the past 6 months is going to be almost non-existent by the time we get to the Scorpio full moon. So I'm fucking stoked. And we only have until, this Saturday and Sunday, until we get to the official exact conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus. So I got the Knight of Pentacles here. So this is like, like you have to fight for your value, because in this world, it is, a Capricorn world that we live in. As much as the Pluto and Aquarius wants to try and create this idealized version of, the true Saturnian nature of our reality, it's like you have to fight for your value, to be known in the world, and that's what the Knight of Pentacles always reminds me. It's like, if you want your value to be known, like, you have to be willing to, go the extra mile, put in the extra effort, do the extra work that nobody else is doing, put in the time that no one else is doing, and you have to be able to, like, move quickly. You can't just, take your sweet ass time. Like, they're, in this real Saturnian Capricorn system that we live in, there's not all the time in the world. We don't have all the time in the world because every moment we don't get back, right? Even though planets retrograde, no planet actually goes backwards. We only move forwards. So being able to trust our instincts and keep moving along towards the future based upon every instinctual action, especially with so many planets and fire signs and this moon in Leo right now, and definitely Pisces. That's one relationship that the water and the fire signs share, other than, them being totally, polar, polarizing elements towards one another, is that, the intuition and the instincts are very strong in the water and the fire sign. So having planets still in Pisces with Mars, Saturn and Neptune, and so many planets in Aries, and now the moon in Leo today for the next few days, being able to trust our instincts and know our value and know our self-worth, and definitely being able to express ourselves from, a place where it's like not giving a fuck about being judged or, what everybody else is doing, getting caught up in the Pluto Aquarius or the South Node in Libra. Like, that's what this moon in Leo is reminding us. Definitely with Mercury crossing Chiron again after this eclipse. So it's like, that is the reminder. No one cares. Just express yourself in the way that you know how, and how your instincts are guiding you to do so. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Tuesday. Thank you for being here. If you're new here, subscribe to my channel, like this video. In the description of this video are all the links to all my platforms, my Instagram, my Spotify, the TikTok, all that. My Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus reading sale is live now. The conjunction is going exact on Sunday, but it won't be until May when it starts getting activated. When Mercury comes into Taurus, Venus comes into Taurus, the Sun comes into Taurus. It's going to be hitting that 20, 21 degree mark, And then after that, we'll have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, at the very last days of Taurus season, going into Gemini season. Then the Jupiter will come into Gemini, and there will be no Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Gemini. This is the last Sun-Jupiter conjunction, because we should get one every year. So it's a rare moment when Jupiter's transiting a sign and it doesn't get to meet with the Sun in that sign. It doesn't happen very often, but this is the last Jupiter energy that we have coming through until Jupiter gets to Cancer. That is really expanding our lives in extreme ways, especially with Uranus there, which only happens every 13 years. But the last time it happened to Taurus was in 1940, which was, I don't think many of us who are here watching this were alive then. So if you were, glad you're here. So I hope you guys have a great Tuesday. I will see you all on Wednesday, and happy moon in Leo. Express yourself in any way that you know possible, despite what the fuck other people think. because no one cares. Peace out.